guys are going to get out the information and the others aren't, so that'll be really good. So this is when we figure out who the real reporters are, so this is really good.
Why is that?
Look at this. What now what did we get today, guys? We got what, 90, one of them got 98 votes or something, one got 80 votes. And I'll hold this, there are more cameras, so I'll just hold this for a long time. Because the media won't report on heat, the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan, I have to show this poster. I don't know what's down here. Should put this over that. The media won't report on heat, Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan, and they won't say heat, and they won't give me credit for heat. The Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan, they won't say it. So, but you look again, and you know who did say it, and you won't report on this. Dylan Wegela said it. He said Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan. And he even quoted the movie, which was pretty cool. So now, knowing MERS, they'll write, you know, so do you notice the only way you get MERS in quote of the day is if you criticize me, and then they give you quote of the day? And I actually think we've said some good things at these press conferences, and MERS never gives me any of that. But if somebody criticizes what I say, they give them that. And I think that's how they keep all of the departments reading their publication. But I'll say this, you know, Dylan Wegela probably deserves quote of the day for his comment, you know, quoting the movie Heat. But do you know, and this is bringing people together, something we're doing here, that was Steve Cara's first bill through the House. And it was also Dylan Wegela's first bill through the House. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Now, I think Dylan probably had a few fewer years than Steve, but it's pretty neat that we could bring them together and get such support. And did we give any of these out to the media? Good. So I want to walk you through some things here. Do you see this right here? And let me just start with this. We're talking about the state of the state. And when we talk about the state of the state, and you know, tomorrow the governor is going to give a speech. And so I wanted to kind of give you some of my thoughts today, because typically you would think the media would want a Republican and a Democrat perspective. So just for me, the number one thing I'm hoping to hear from Governor Whitmer in her speech is embracing HEAT, the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan. And, you know, I think it's great. We look at what Whitmer's done. Whitmer has moved my way on roads, the governor. You see, we introduced a plan to fix our local roads. Governor Whitmer hasn't done that in 6 years, and then I challenged her when I invited her to do the State of the State to propose her roads plan. Now, she put that out basically a week ago, so that's really encouraging. But remember, that would not have happened had I not put out a very detailed plan, something the governor gives me credit for. And Simon, you know, actually, you know, you covered this very well. The governor said that Speaker Hall has the guts and the brains to introduce a roads plan, and she pointed out that I'm the only legislative leader that has done that during her time here. It's very interesting, all the other legislative leaders that missed that opportunity. So I give you a lot of credit for that, reporting that. And, you know, really the media should be talking more about this, you know what I mean? So we're trying to fix local roads. I put a plan out there. It's very detailed, and everyone agrees it's detailed. I've seen a lot of reporting. There was some recent reporting where I saw the Michigan Chamber of Commerce leader, Jim Holcomb, come out and say, Speaker Hall's plan was much more detailed than Governor Whitmer's plan, and that's the consensus, that our plan was very detailed. So if Governor Whitmer wants to provide some more details on her plan tomorrow in the State of the State, you know, that would be great. Hey, you missed this part, by the way. Look at this. Look at this. We got 80 votes today for heat. The Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan, something the media won't talk about, and they won't mention me, even though a lot of the media used to support these policies before I put my name on them. But, and one of them got 80 votes. What did the other get? 91 votes. And we mentioned this is the first time Steve Cara or Dylan Wegela have gotten a bill through the House. And, you know, some people think one's a little more on the far right and one's a little more on the far left. And you see, I've told you guys this, with the right leadership, which is me, we are bringing people together and we're unifying people. And you're seeing that with the heat plan. And we're going to go through it in a minute. And so the number one thing that I'm calling on Governor Whitmer to do in her State of the State address is to endorse the heat plan, the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan, because this is bringing people together in Lansing. And I think her leadership endorsing this plan will go a long ways. And what I'm saying is, when you look at the roads, I've brought people together on the roads, focusing on local roads, putting roads before corporations, something I think is very important. Let's fund the roads, and that should be a higher priority than giving giveaways to the most connected corporations in the state. Let's stop doing all the pork projects and let's focus on roads. So we put together a very detailed plan, and we showed how we can fix the roads without raising taxes by putting roads above corporations. And Governor Whitmer has embraced fixing the roads because of my leadership and the leadership of the House Republicans. That's really bringing people together. And then you look at our plan, which is part of HEAT, which is stopping the lack of transparency in these pork projects. Governor Whitmer has embraced that too. And so I give her a lot of credit for embracing our ideas. And then when you look at, by the way, now this is another thing that I think the media should pause and talk about a little more. It was a really big deal what just happened with the bipartisan agreement on the tip credit and the earned sick time. You know, and it'd be interesting to get some of your opinions on this, but I go back and I look, I'm trying to think about this. So, you know, Governor Whitmer and I came in the same year, her as governor and me as rep in 2019. You know, trying to think about when was the last time under Governor Whitmer that there was actually like a bipartisan thing that passed the chamber. That was a high-profile issue where both sides gave and compromised and worked through a complex issue. I bet you it was the auto no-fault reform. Now, I'm interested in other opinions, but I would bet you it was the auto no-fault reform. And that was in 2019. And so I'm just saying something has changed up here in Lansing, and I think it's the House Republican leadership, which is bringing people together and solving problems. And so you look, we brought people together when we walked off the floor. And we walked off the floor and said, let's solve this problem. Now, when we were passing these bills the other day on the floor, and you saw we got a lot of votes. How many votes did we get, Gideon? It's probably 80 votes for the sick leave issue. It was probably a lot more. Do you know how many votes it was? It was at least 80, I bet. It was a big margin. So we got a huge victory, bipartisan victory on the sick leave. When that was passing, you know what I thought about? I said, imagine if the Democrats would have just done this in lame duck, because then all of their agenda would have passed. You think about it, because we were working through bills and we were supposed to move bills on this topic to keep these conversations alive on roads, on economic development issues, on sick leave and tip credit. And when Speaker Tate backed out on his word and said, you know what, this is off the table, and legislative Democrats wouldn't lead on this, and then the House Republicans walked off the floor and trying to pressure them to take up real issues like the tip credit and the sick leave. Well, look what happened. Democrats refused to come to the table to work that out at that time. They lost out on the last days of their trifecta, and then they came back and passed them anyway, under our terms. I mean, you look at that, it's incredible to watch. So you know, it just, I look at the missed opportunity for the Democrats during their lame duck session, because had they done it then, they would have had a quorum and they would have been able to move forward on a lot of their other radical left ideas. So it's kind of interesting how it all worked out in the end. And it'd be interesting to read your analysis on that. But as I'm looking through this, we brought people together. We made a stand. We raised a lot of awareness in the press and from people about these issues. The need for earned sick time, that's paid, but also these people have a job and it can be administered, and also the restaurant industry and how our restaurant workers needed somebody to stand up for them to protect their pay and protect their jobs. And I think the support for this has been overwhelmingly positive across the state, everywhere except for the Democrat convention, which it was pretty rough there. But so you look through those issues, and I think you're seeing leadership. And you know, when I was inviting the governor to the State of the State, it wasn't lost on me that we were inviting her after that February 21st deadline. And many of you have written, this is the latest State of the State, probably ever, since they started giving the State of the State. Is that what you guys think?
I think it's the latest that it's ever been delivered verbally. So
Yeah.
like consent or something.
That's great. So this is the latest State of the State, and it wasn't lost on me that this was going to occur after the deadline for the tip credit and the sick leave, because in my mind, you know, if we solve this problem, you know, what a great opportunity for Governor Whitmer to showcase how we came together and solved a problem that would help our restaurant industry and our restaurant workers, and that would help ensure that people get paid sick time off and also have jobs. And if it didn't happen, you know, I felt like this would be an opportunity to have a conversation about that in front of everyone across the state as they're paying attention. So fortunately, we came together, and I think it'll be a very positive day tomorrow to take a chance to celebrate and talk about how we came together, probably for the second time under Governor Whitmer's administration. And we came together and solved a problem. So it was a really good outcome. I think as we go through this, you know, we're going to hope that Governor Whitmer, like I said, that she puts forward more plans on the roads. And I see that really as the next major issue that we can tackle. Just from my perspective, because we were able to come together in a bipartisan way and solve a very complex problem that was so important to our business community and to our workers, I think we have some momentum. And my hope is that we can build on that momentum and we can really solve this roads problem by focusing on local roads and showing how we can fix the roads without raising taxes. So we're going to have that conversation. And I'm looking forward to seeing if we can do this again and really build some momentum. And I'm hoping tomorrow we hear more from Governor Whitmer about that. And like I said, I think if she embraces the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan tomorrow, it's really going to lead to a lot of unity in the chamber, and I think it'll go very well for her. And I just wanted to real quick go over this. Hopefully you all have the sheet. But you want to talk about issues bringing people together. Our plan to force politicians to publicly disclose their pork spending before any vote passed 105-0. And we moved that through the chamber swiftly. Our plan to close the revolving door to stop politicians from becoming lobbyists when they leave office, that passed 98-11. And 96-13. You're bringing that together. And mind you, we've done all of these things before our first 90 days. Our plan to ban non-disclosure agreements passed today, like I said. I think one had 90 votes and one had 80 votes. But and you heard Dylan Wegela say, you know, a lot of people talk it, right? But Speaker Hall's actually putting these bills forward and they're passing the chamber, and he's doing it aggressively and quickly. when you look at these things, like the revolving door, that applies to the politicians in office now. The past versions of this did not apply to the politicians there now. And I don't think they've ever passed a bill to ban the non-disclosures. And I read some story where they act like I'm still in an NDA. I'm not in an NDA. I made that clear. I got out of my NDA, and so did everyone in our staff. And I even sent them a letter that said, there's no information that you gave me that's bound by this NDA. So politicians should not be forced to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, when they're spending taxpayer money. And whether they're forced or whether they just want to do it to hide, these people are making sweetheart deals at times, and they're trying to cover it up from the public. And when this legislation moves through the legislature, hopefully with Governor Whitmer's endorsement, which we could see tomorrow, during her State of the State, that'll make a big difference for the people and for transparency in government. And this is real transparency. We've passed through, had we put this up for a roll call vote, it probably would have got 100 votes too, but creating the House Oversight Committee and giving it subpoena power, unprecedented subpoena power, to really get the answers about what's going on in state government and to force departments to appear, to testify under oath, to produce documents relevant to investigations so that we can get to the bottom of what's going on in our state government and bring true transparency and accountability to government. And then banning the politicians from becoming lobbyists in other states while they're here working for the people. It's amazing we had to pass this bill, and this passed 103 to 6. It's amazing we have to do this bill, but there are politicians, Democrat politicians like Rebecca Warren, who actually are lobbyists in other states while they're serving the public here. They have a conflict of interest, and that needs to stop. And so you go through these things. We have delivered, and that's why we're giving you the heat status report. I mean, it isn't even the end of February, and we have delivered on all these items in heat. And we're going to come back for more. We're going to try to require a 2/3 vote after the election for votes. I mentioned over 40% of the bills that pass into law happen after lame duck. And that's the case every 2 years. It's amazing to look at. Every cycle, going back to 2014, which is as far back as I went, it's like 40% or more of the laws happen in those last 2 weeks after the election. And they do that in secret after the election, so they can't be held accountable and there's no transparency. We're going to need to build a little more consensus with Democrats to get this done. Democrats, I think, we're still working through this with them. Obviously, their very weak leader, Ranjiv Puri, you saw, I think he's voted no on everything in heat. And I don't see anyone in the media asking him about that. But why is this guy so against transparency and accountability in government and ethics? It's very strange, but I think we should focus less on trying to game this out. I mean, we all know that the last lame duck, led by the Democrats, was a complete and total failure. But this isn't about what the Democrats tried to do or what I would try to do. I think when you look at this policy over many years, it's better policy for the people of Michigan that we put controversial votes before the election so that those policies, the voters have a chance to hold their politicians accountable for their votes. It's not the popular bills. It's not the bills that are going to last over time that are getting rammed through after an election in the dark of night in a very short period of time. Those are the controversial bills, the bills that the politicians don't want the public to know about. And so we're going to keep working toward that. But I think we have a very good start. And so I just think the media should be calling on the Senate Democrats and saying, why are you sitting on these bills? Why are you sitting on HEAT, the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan, the most transformative ethics, accountability, and transparency plan that's been introduced and pass through a chamber in many, many years, probably in all of your careers, why aren't the Senate Democrats acting? And tomorrow, will Gretchen Whitmer, during her State of the State, endorse this plan? I think that would bring everybody together because you've seen how strongly they passed. So I wanted to give you some of my thoughts about State of the State. I wanted to talk about heat. And I would just say a couple more things. I've really been encouraged by Governor Whitmer and how she's embracing President Trump. And I thought that her going to the White House, sitting next to President Trump, was a very positive development. And I think President Trump is the most transformative politician of our generation. I mean, these type of leaders only come along once in a generation. And the fact that Governor Whitmer is embracing him, spending time with him, talking to him, I think you can really see that starting to rub off. And as a result, I mean, we're seeing some very positive things come out of her. I'll just make, a couple more observations. You look at, today, or what was it, yesterday, Governor Whitmer embraced Mark Tisdale's legislation. And this is to ensure that these kids in school don't have cell phones. Why do these people have cell phones when they're in school and they're supposed to be learning and they're looking at their cell phones all the time? And, the first time I heard about this was from Mark Tisdale, one of our Republican state reps who's been working on this for years. And then I saw Vivek endorse this idea a year or two ago, and he talked about it in his campaign yesterday for governor of Ohio. And so now Gretchen Whitmer is embracing this idea of not having the cell phones in the classroom with the kids. So that's another really positive development. I mean, you see her embracing our earmark transparency plan. You see her moving our way on making cuts and dedicating the entire money at the pump to roads. And now you see her moving our way on Mark Tisdale's legislation to ban cell phones in schools. I also was encouraged today by some of her comments on that I read in your stories about these fees, refunding fees that are collected from state government. That's really positive. I will point out, though, and I don't think I have it here with me, but there's a list of fees that we have that we'll share with you. So essentially, in 23 and 24, Gretchen Whitmer raised a lot of fees in that budget, if you look at it, and there are all kinds of fees. And this was during the Democrat trifecta. She raised fees and she extended fees, okay? Now, Gretchen Whitmer, after Donald Trump won the election and the Republicans won the House, she's been talking to us a lot and she's doing things. Now, Gretchen Whitmer is embracing refunding some of these fees. That's a positive development. I would just say that we could just lower the cost of these fees. And do you know what I'm saying? We could lower the cost of the fees for all of these permitting activities, and maybe we should even rescind some of these fees. That would be a real positive. So rather than raising the fees and then refunding them, we could just lower the fees or eliminate the fees. So that would be a real positive thing. And you look at last year, the Democrat, they raised the income tax. The income tax went up last year. That's not good for cost of living. So, now Whitmer is saying, well, cost of living, let's lower permitting fees through refunding them. That's positive, but I will just point out that they're the ones that raised the fees and extended the fees. And now, after Trump won the election and the Republicans won the House, now they're talking about refunding or lowering some of the fees. It's kind of interesting. Then I would say, it's very positive to see Governor Whitmer embracing this gap that's growing in our schools, in our community colleges and universities between women and men. I think that's really positive, and you see that. And so, I'm hoping we can see Governor Whitmer also embracing ideas of protecting women's sports in schools, and things like that. And I would also say, as we're talking about these issues, I'm hoping Governor Whitmer will embrace getting rid of all these welfare programs for illegal aliens. I mean, remember, we have rent subsidies for illegal aliens. We've seen in Whitmer's budget proposals free legal aid for illegal aliens. Hopefully we can unify around taking that out of the budget, because illegal aliens should not be receiving taxpayer dollars, and they should not be benefiting from the taxpayers. And you saw yesterday this illegal alien from Grand Rapids area who committed a murder. We're seeing illegal alien crime all over Michigan, and sanctuary jurisdictions and welfare for illegal aliens, free legal aid and free rental payments are the things that are making Michigan a magnet for illegal aliens. So my hope is, and we see Gretchen Whitmer kind of revisiting some of her past ideas and shifting and moving our way. My hope is we'll see that on illegal aliens and sanctuary cities as well. So I can stop there for now. I don't know if there are any questions, but I appreciate everyone listening so intently. And you notice I didn't call anyone out by name this time, so, well, that was a compliment though. And I think I'm always complimenting you guys when I call you out by name, but you know, we're working on that. So what'd you have to say?
Your thoughts on Rep. Shriver's resolution to condemn legalization of gay marriage?
Oh yeah, you saw that? Yeah, so I'll just say this, from my perspective, you know, I give you guys credit for being here because, you know, I'm the Speaker of the House, right? And many people are starting to call me the most transparent quadrant leader in any of their careers. And so, you know, I'm up here being transparent. I'm talking to you guys about the state of the state. I'm giving you guys a lot of behind the scenes info about things that have happened and a lot of really valuable perspective. I think I'm helping you with your jobs because like that perspective that I gave you guys on the Democrats in lame duck and how in lame duck they could have accomplished this same deal and gotten all their agenda done, but instead they refused to act and they didn't get any of their agenda done. Did you see that picture from Jonathan Lindsay where they wanted to do this much and they got this much done? And then you see that they got none of that done, and they still did the tip credit and the sick leave. Is very good analysis that's going to help you guys. On this, you know, I'll say for me, I look at issues when I'm leading, and I think it's been pretty consistent, whether it's HEAT, the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan, whether it's the roads, where I led on this, the House Republicans, and we're bringing Governor Whitmer and others to the table. All these issues, we're bringing people together because House Republicans and myself as Speaker, we're leading on the right issues. When you have the right leader, which is me, leading on the right issues, we're bringing people together and we're seeing some of the most productive activity in the history of Lansing, really in many of your careers. And the reason is because we're focusing on issues that bring people together and bring our caucus together. And so in this particular case, you know, this is an issue that I would say where Rep. Shriver has some very deeply held beliefs. But it's an issue that's very divisive in our caucus. Many of our caucus members don't feel the way that Rep. Shriver does. And so if you look, this was referred to the Government Operations Committee today. And so I think that, you know, Rep. Shriver has every right. I mean, let's just say this. People know Rep. Shriver, okay? Many of you in the press have covered Rep. Shriver. Rep. Shriver is very authentic about who he is. And he went through a re-election, and the people re-elected him overwhelmingly in his district. So people know what to expect from Rep. Shriver, all right? He put this resolution forward. It's not a consensus position in our caucus. It's a position where I would say a lot of Republicans disagree with Rep. Shriver on the issue. And so what we're trying to do is focus on issues that unify our caucus and bring people together. And those are the issues that we're moving forward and putting on our agenda. I've laid through that. You know, you look at the work we've done forging an education plan. We did that at the end of last year, and you know, we don't get enough credit for this, but in September of last year, I put out what most people call one of the most detailed education plans that's really going to bring people together, and that was in September. And then Gretchen Whitmer came out with one, what was it? It was like in January. She came out with one, and that was positive, but it was months after us. I think you're going to see us moving forward on education. You're going to see us moving forward very quickly on roads legislation. Legislation that's going to bring people together and solve our roads problem without raising taxes. You're going to see us repealing the Democrat income tax hike that took effect last year. And you're also going to see us repealing this energy law that went into effect that is basically going to ban natural gas by 2040. So you can see a lot of the issues that the Republicans are working on, and we're forging consensus, we're bringing our members together, but it's not, the power of these issues are, the public's behind them, the Republicans are fairly unified on them, and we're bringing Democrats to the table too. And so those are the things that we're leading on and focusing on. And I would encourage the media, let's focus on the issues here at the table. Like, you people in the media are really missing real opportunities to cover things that are happening here at the Capitol, the things I'm sitting here talking about, things that are happening in real time, things that are moving, things that other Democrat leaders are coming to the table on and are very positive for the people of Michigan. The people of Michigan, they want to see their politicians coming together, and they want to see their leaders getting stuff done for them. We started that with the sick leave and the tip credit, and we're going to build off of that momentum. And if Governor Whitmer embraces the things that I've encouraged her to tomorrow, she's going to show real leadership, and it's going to help us amplify this unity that the House Republicans have been bringing to Lansing. Any other questions? All right. Yeah, did you see that?
I did, I watched it, remember we talked about it?
It was one of the highest rated off the records in many years. And no, it was rated. See, here's the deal. We're trying to help Skubik with his ratings. I mean, he has these people on there and they get no ratings, you know. I mean, you see some of them. And so I went on there to try to help with his ratings because, you know, Kyle Malin told me that when they stream MERS, they're through the roof. People are tuning in to watch these press conferences on MERS, and we get a lot on our streams. And you know, people. I mean, this is so we wanted to bring that to off the record, and we got really good reviews. But what was your question?
So one question that Tim Skubik asked you a couple times that day was, and you knew somebody had asked you this, is what's your willingness as far as FOIA goes to negotiate with the Senate and the governor to get their endorsement or their movement on compliance?
Wow, you see that? You're still talking about FOIA. I mean, the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan, something the media won't talk about. And many of you in the media used to support these ideas, you know, but I think what we saw on Off the Record, and I don't mean any offense to the journalists, because there's a lot of great journalism going on, but you just see the lobbying and advocacy from the journalists for this idea. And you've seen that in some of the editorials and news reporting and things like that. I would just encourage the media, because you know they used to support these policies. Rather than lobbying and advocating for bills that help you guys do your jobs easier, like, let's embrace real transparency, accountability, and ethics that's moving through the legislature now and has a real opportunity to become law. And then, you know, we can continue to write editorials and debate the other things. But don't miss this opportunity. And also, why aren't you guys calling on the Senate Democrats and asking them, when are you going to start moving on real transparency, accountability, and ethics legislation, which is what this is?
So have you had conversations with the Senate Majority Leader about passing some of these transparency bills?
Well, I'll just say I found, look, I mean, Sam Singh is a radical left-wing extremist, and that's not a controversial statement, and you all know that's true. But you know what? He put his politics aside, And, you know, we don't know. Maybe it was the governor that encouraged him to do it. We'll never know. Maybe it was just he was inspired by the House Republican leadership. You know, maybe he was afraid of losing the Senate majority. We'll never know. But something happened, and Sam Singh came to the table, put his radical left politics aside, and worked in good faith to come to a solution with me on earned sick policies and on keeping good wages for restaurant workers, but also ensuring they have jobs. So, you know, I'd say, I mean, if somebody like Sam Singh wants to come to the table and work through heat, you know, I'd be happy to talk to him about it. But I found him to be somebody that has a good command of the issues, and that we're really starting to build trust, and we can work together in good faith, even though he has very radical left-wing ideas.
So we know your stance is on FOIA. We also know that in order for your heat plan to get through, you're gonna have to move something through the House that you maybe don't want to do. What are those things? And like Elena asked, have you had those conversations with senators?
So why is it that we have to negotiate on heat? I mean, I think you see heat has brought people together. The Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan. I mean, I went through this with you. We have 105 votes, 98 votes, 96 votes, 103 votes. Today it was like 90 votes. So I would, you know, why isn't the media calling on the Senate to move these bills? We don't need to negotiate the bills. I mean, do the Democrats in the Senate believe that politicians should become lobbyists right after they leave office? Do they believe that you should be able to become a lobbyist in another state while you're a politician here? Do they think that non-disclosure agreements should be allowed in economic development deals where they're hiding from you what they know about how they're spending your tax dollars? They should do it because it's the right thing, you know? And at least I'm here telling you where I'm at on these bills. So go get them to tell you why they're not moving those bills. It'll be interesting to hear. Yeah. Hey, Colin, how you doing, man?
Doing all right.
All right, good. Great. Hey, great reporting. Great reporting lately.
Thank you. But at that point, though, to kind of echo Elena, when I was saying, though, the point was the Senate has some very brief votes and we need very brief votes. Packages. We talked to senators who said, or senators who were in lost, they say they reached out to you about those. So I guess the question is, have you reached out to senators about the heat plan specifically? Have you reached out? Have you taken that first step?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any of this reach out, but I'll just say, look, the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan can bring people together, and I'm hopeful that Governor Whitmer will embrace it tomorrow in her State of the State. I think that will really help bring people together. You know, if we can get Governor Whitmer on board, you know, I think that'll really help us in terms of getting Senate Democrats on board. But they should be on board because these are very popular policies, and they're good. They're real transparency, accountability, and ethics bills. Stopping politicians from becoming lobbyists and banning non-disclosure agreements. And by the way, there's nothing stopping the Senate Democrats from passing earmark transparency. There's nothing stopping them. And I would ask you guys, if I'm the problem, why didn't the Democrats do this when they had a trifecta? Okay? I actually am acting on this, and we're moving this legislation for real ethics, accountability, and transparency, and all the media is shooting at me because it's not the way you guys want it. But you know what? Let's embrace these ideas. They're powerful ideas that will bring people together and will do great things for the taxpayer, for transparency and accountability, and they'll improve ethics in government. And I hope that the Senate Democrats pass them because they're the right thing to do. Any other? Yes, Beth.
Are you helping Rep. Whitset fundraise?
Oh, you saw that. Yeah. Nothing gets by you. You know, Beth is a very good journalist, and you probably, and we have our differences, but you deserve a lot of awards. Probably more awards than what you get. But she works with some politicians, so it's tough. But you're a great journalist, and nothing gets by you. So, you know, I mean, this is part of bringing people together. I would say that Rep. Whitset is the only Democrat so far that's asked me to help them with their fundraising. But we are doing a fundraiser. I'll be appearing at a fundraiser for Rep. Whitset. Now, Rep. Whitset and I, you know, have different views on some things. But I think that she's demonstrated an ability to stand up for the people of her district. And what I respect about Rep. Whitsett is she has more political courage than probably any politician up here. She doesn't do the party line for the Democrats or the Republicans. She looks out for her constituents, and she does what she thinks is right. And so when she asked me, you know, will you support my campaign? I said, yeah, because we need more politicians like you, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. And so I'm proud to support her fundraiser. I bet you she'll raise a lot of money having me there, because I'm a pretty big draw right now. So, and I hope she does, because she deserves re-election, and the people of her district, they love her. I mean, you know, we have a Southeast Michigan outreach office. We had to start that because the prior speaker, none of these Southeast Michigan leaders could get a hold of him. When I go down into those areas, they love Rep. Whitsett. It's incredible. She has such a connection with her district. So she really doesn't need the money, but I'm going to help her anyway. I'm looking forward to it. You'd have to look at the details on that. I just told her I'd support her event. So I don't know which it is. And then Sarah Cambenzi, that was pretty sharp too. You know, that was a tough one, because we have so many former disaffected Democrats that are trying to work for me because they see how we're bringing people together. And you saw, you know, Courtney Goddard is leading our Southeast Michigan office. And, you know, we were just with Mark Hackle the other day, and all kinds of Democrats in Macomb, Wayne, Oakland counties. And, you know, we're building relationships with the local Southeast Michigan leaders, because I want to be a leader who helps them solve their problems too. Even though a lot of these are Democrat areas, they have some very smart leaders. And the prior Democrat trifecta didn't get a lot of their priorities done, largely because of a House Democrat group that's focused on the wrong issues. And that didn't get any better with them electing Ranjiv Puri, their leader. In fact, a lot of them are talking to me saying, you know what, maybe Tate was better. I mean, you look at it, maybe Tate was better than Puri, because he's really struggling in that job. And this guy, you see, like, what does he do today? He has some press conference on some bill that's not moving out of government ops. And a lot of you in the media take the bait on that. And so my encouragement to you is, let's stay focused on the issues that matter to the people of Michigan, the things that I've been up here talking about that are actually moving: ethics, transparency, accountability, local roads, all kinds of things that we're doing. I just gave you some more. We're going to be doing things on education. We're going to be doing things on making the cost of living better. And Governor Whitmer's coming our way. And my hope is tomorrow we'll see that even more in her speech. And we have a real opportunity to get things done for the people of Michigan. I hope more of you cover that. Yeah, go ahead.
You said Rep. Shriver's resolution is not moving out of the box.
Yeah, we said that just a little bit ago. We're focusing on issues that are unifying our caucus, and also unifying the body. And you look, everything we've been doing is doing that. And I just laid out other things we're doing that are doing that. So now I would encourage the media to cover those issues, right? There's a lot of really good public policy going on up here. And I'm the most, I mean, like I said, a lot of you guys know I'm the most transparent quadrant leader you've ever had. And I'm up here telling you guys what's happening. I'm showing it to you, and then it's happening. And so I would just encourage you guys, focus on the positive things that are going out there, things that are bringing people together, and you're going to build a lot more confidence in your journalism. What'd you say, Dave? And by the way, great article today in Cranes. Did you guys see it? A one-on-one exclusive with Ann Bolin. I mean, you had stuff in there I didn't even know. That was a great one.
Just to clarify on the NDA,
Uh-huh.
just your background in the NDA, what is the status of the NDA that you have signed?
Right. So what I did was this. So I'm the Speaker of the House, okay? They're not going to get one of these economic deals by me, okay? In order to do an economic development deal, we have to move it in the House. And so my position is, if you guys want to be considered for an economic development deal moving forward, then you're going to have to share the details. And if you don't want to share the details, then we're not going to know what it is. We're not going to do it. And so when they came to me and said, hey, we'd like to brief you on an economic development deal, I said, I will not accept a briefing until you release me and all of my staff from the NDA. And then they released us. And then they sent us this letter that said, you know, you're in this until some certain date or something about stuff in the past. And I just sent a letter back and said, and this is available, I've read it. I sent a letter back and said, you haven't given me any information that is not out in the public, so I'm not bound by this. And so anything that's happened or happens in the future, we're not bound by.
We've got time for just two more.
That's why you got to come to these early. Yeah.
As we well know, Governor Whitmer's road plan potential that is going to be raising money from the business community.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see universally agree with road negotiated roads compromise like all raising money?
Well, I think here's my first goal. My first goal is to listen to Governor Whitmer's speech tomorrow and see if she gives us any more clues or details into her actual plan. Most people, including Jim Holcomb, are talking about how my plan had a lot more details in it than Governor Whitmer's plan. We can look at the sketch of what she put together and we can kind of see that she wants to raise taxes. Yeah. So what my goal here is this, is to show Governor Whitmer, like not with the cameras around, just show Governor Whitmer like this is how I think we can get here without raising taxes, and to try to help her, persuade her. Like, look, I mean, why just because you're a Democrat do you have to raise taxes? If we can do this without raising taxes by setting better priorities, we could just do it that way. And I think with the work, we read about that Ann Bolin is planning on doing, working with Matt Maddock, I think we'll be able to show even more where there's efficiencies in this budget, where we could take that money and put it into roads. So my goal is to show her that we can do this responsibly without raising taxes. And I think if I can show her that, she'll move more our way. But if we can't, then number one, let's see what number we get to. You know what I mean? It'd be interesting. If it's 2.7 billion, maybe we'll just stop there. But then lastly, I've talked about how, with the EVs, I don't think the EVs pay their fair share. And you look at, they really got smacked down by MIDA, if you read it. I mean, these radical left extremists were saying that the EVs pay their fair share, and then you saw Lance from MIDA show how they didn't, and so they don't pay their fair share. So I'm open to the conversation about how EVs can pay their fair share, and I would say this, over time, many people think EVs will expand in their market share. That could become more significant over time, so I'm open to that. But to be very clear, I don't think we should be talking about raising the corporate income tax in this conversation. I think that the conversation about raising the corporate income tax, we bring the corporations together and we say, look, if you want all these incentives in the future after we get rid of them in order to pay for the roads, then you guys have to pay for it. Are you guys willing to pay for it?
What about taxing the ads served by major social media platforms?
No, I don't support that. Hold on, Eggert, right here. I mean, you've been writing, so I'm going to go to him first because he's been doing a great job.
Speaking of taxes, I don't know if you give your stance. What's your stance on taxing vapes and
No, I oppose that. And I've consistently opposed that throughout my entire time in the legislature. If you go back in history, the first hearing I had as House Oversight Chair was with Dr. Caldoun, and it was over the attempt to ban vapes, and I think we really exposed her, and they backed off that, if you remember, and it never happened, and it never will as long as I'm Speaker of the House. Colin, what did you have?
So there's a Senate appropriations bill that was proposed last fiscal year. So that's the next one. I'm curious, have there been negotiations with the House on that matter? Where do you stand on it?
This is a book closing? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, alleged book closing, yeah. Well, I'm skeptical that we need to do this book closing. You know, I mean, I'll just say this. I mean, the Senate Democrats are engaged in a very political lawsuit right now. And it's really discouraging. And I think if you look, those of you that watched the case yesterday, you know, Steve Liedel and his team, I mean, these guys were making excellent legal arguments. And so I think whether, you know, when people really dig into those legal arguments and analyze them and think about what Steve Liedel is saying, and some of this is really next level stuff, they're going to see that there's no remedy other than the one Steve Liedel put forward, which is they're going to have to dismiss this case in this political lawsuit. But with that said, I just don't see why we need a book closing. I'll be open-minded about it, but you know, the Democrats had their opportunity to do a book closing, but instead they tried to do a radical list of agenda items that was like this big, and they failed at all of it. So, you know, we'll look at it and we'll consider it, but I'm not really of the mindset that we need a book closing.
So Senator Anthony has said if we don't close the books by some point in March, the state's credit score will be affected and something like that. So just to be fair, are you saying you don't think the state needs to close its books at all unless it's
Well, I would ask them this. When they had a Democrat trifecta, why didn't they close the books? Why were they so focused on all this divisive left-wing agenda? They could have closed the books. They didn't close the books. Now they're asking me to close the books for them? I mean, I don't see why I need to close their books. You know, I mean, we'll look at what they propose in there.
They closed the books after the Senate left.
But I'm saying this is 2025, and I'm just saying, you know, why would we help them close their books? I mean, you know, so we'll look at it and we'll look at the things that we think should be in there. But I mean, remember, government spending has increased 43% under Governor Whitmer. And if all these proposals take effect, it's going to be over 47%. So, you know, that's going to be one negative supplemental, I'll tell you that book closing. Anything else?
okay?
All right, thanks, guys. Remember, HEAT, the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan. Maybe we'll hear more about it tomorrow.